The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. This program you're listening to right now contains only the news portion of the show. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode containing the music and interviews, please visit undercountrymusic.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. But now we're going to get into the Undercountry Music News! The Undercountry Music News is where I, your show host, Neil Smith, goes on to Google, and I Google the search term country music news, and any websites which show up on the front page of the search results that are supposed to have country music news, I go and I hold their feet to the fire, and I see what they got. A lot of these places got nothing. Some of these places got something, and a whole lot of nothing. And then there's a couple of places lately which has had a whole lot of stuff. So anyway, what I do is I go and I find the one or two actual news stories on these sites, and I bring them to you, and I give you my thoughts on them, on the stories of the week in country music. Oh, and if a website that's supposed to be reporting country music news is not actually reporting country music news, they get rewarded with the Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week. Doggies. Let's get into it here. Okay, over at CMT. That's right, they got nothing, zero, zilch. They get the Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week. And apparently crap is king because CMT topped the search results. And crap really is king, as you will see as we go through, because every other website had at least one interesting story. And there was actually a website that had a lot of interesting stories. So the fact that CMT could not bring any actual news this week is absolutely inexcusable as far as I'm concerned. They have no business being at the top of those search results. So let's move along. Country Weekly. They have a rehearsal video of Keith Urban and his band doing an acoustic version of his song, Good Thing. The song is all right as far as modern pop country goes. That's not really country. But, you know, it's pretty cool seeing a rehearsal video released. But, you know, honestly, I have my doubts about this thing because they were really tight on the song. It wasn't really a rehearsal in my book. It was more like a performance, and I think it was totally rigged. I don't think it was a real rehearsal because they weren't like sitting there and working out parts and like, oh, hey, I think you should do this here, or you should do this here, or, let me, bring this up a little bit. That's a rehearsal. They actually just walked into a back room, two guys on acoustic guitars, singing harmonies, and one guy beating on a cardboard box. That's not a rehearsal. That's an unplugged performance. Anyway, so I'm calling BS on the backroom rehearsal tape for Keith Urban. Also, over at countryweekly.com, they're talking about the big story that from last week about Blake Shelton tweeting out Adam Levine's personal cell phone number during a taping of The Voice. For real. Well, you know what? That's another one I think I'm gonna sit here and be skeptical about, because I think we know these guys know how to play the publicity game pretty darn good and drum up media. I don't think it was real. I think it was a total put on to get publicity because, they hang out together. They're not going to tweet each other's numbers. Blake Shelton doesn't want his number tweeted out. But anyway, that's all what they want us to believe, and I'm not buying it. Also over at Country Weekly. Am I making the point here that CMT hasn't done their job? Okay, anyway. Also over at Country Weekly, they're reporting that Wayne the Train Hancock has been hospitalized after having a motorcycle accident. That's right. Wayne the Train Hancock, frequently known as the King of Juke Joint Swing, is currently in a hospital ICU where he is being treated for injuries sustained in a motorcycle accident on Saturday, April 26th. Now, he was wearing a helmet, but he had some other injuries, including a collapsed lung and a fractured elbow. The rest of his tour dates for May have been canceled. I think so. I think with a collapsed lung, you might have a little trouble singing. Duh. Anyway, finally over at Country Weekly, William Shatner interprets Luke Bryan's Country Girl Shake It For Me. And I gotta tell you, it's much better than Luke Bryan's version of Country Girl Shake It For Me. But then again, my dog licking her butthole would be better than Luke Bryan's version of Country Girl Shake It For Me, as far as I'm concerned. And if that's not worth the trip over to Country Weekly this weekly, I don't know what isly. Okay, over at GAC, Great American Country, Christian Bush from Sugarland is working on his debut solo album, Love or Money. It's kind of a cliche title, kind of a lackluster title as far as I'm concerned, but then again, Christian Bush is kind of a lackluster performer. I mean, you ever gone to see Sugarland? The guy doesn't do much. I mean, I'm figuring he probably has a big hand in the songwriting, and, you know, he's probably a real talented guy, but, you know, every time I see him, he's playing an instrument that I can't hear, and he's not doing much singing other than some harmonies here and there, and he's just like walking around stage with, you know, a big smiling mug. Now, I'm guessing, you know, he's probably a really good instrumentalist. I mean, to build a band that high, he's probably a pretty smart guy, whatever. So anyway, he's working. I guess now we're going to get to see and hear that for ourselves. And I look forward to that. And I hope it's good. I hope it's not crap. The title of the album doesn't give me much hope, though. But anyway, he's working with producer Byron Gallimore, who has produced 4 albums for Sugarland. So anyway, also over at over at GAC, my bad. The Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum has revealed a spotlight exhibit honoring Crystal Gayle entitled When I Dream. You know, they always get these titles for these things, like Reba McEntire was All the Women I Am. You know, I mean, wasn't Patsy Cline's like Sweet Dreams of You? Whatever. Anyway, it features fashion, awards, and letters, family photos, and more from Crystal Gayle's groundbreaking career. Groundbreaking career? Didn't she have like one screwy hit? Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue? And she had hair like down to her feet. That's all I can remember Crystal Gayle being known for. One song and really, really long hair. Hey, whatever. You can milk that cow for 50 years. You know, God bless you. All right. Oh, look. Also over at GAC. Am I underscoring how bad CMT did their job yet this week? Okay. The Old Crow Medicine Show will release their new album, Remedy, on July 1st through ATO Records. The album will feature catchy melodies and quirky lyrics. Now I'm reading the press clipping. Anyway, they got a new album coming out, and it drops July 1st, and anything else you hear about it is just going to be a whole bunch of press release hoo-ha. Anyway, there is a quote here I would like to read, and you know, they say you know, this is country music for people who think country music needs a whooping, and I definitely can agree with that. Country music needs an ass whooping like there's no tomorrow, I gotta tell you. All right, moving along to Taste of Country. If you are in the market for a luxurious ranch in New Mexico, complete with stitched leather ceilings, horse stables, and an area for a pet buffalo. Then Randy Travis's gated estate could be the right one for you. And the good news is, it's available. Price of admission, a cool $14.7 million. I'm kind of doing a cross between, like, that guy, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and, like, Dr. Evil. Anyway, Randy Travis built this beautiful home in 2002 on 220 acres. And if you want to see pictures of this just mind-blowing, awesome estate, wow, the southwestern estate, go take a look at those pictures over at Taste of Country. Also, Taste of Country is reporting that Jake Owen, he was just beginning his show in Fort Wayne, Indiana a few nights back, and he stopped to throw out a guy he saw punch a woman. All right? He said, if you're a man and you touch a woman, you're a bad dude, man. I gotta tell you, Jake Owen's one tough guy. I wouldn't cross him. He sees a guy punch a lady and he walks up, wags his fingers, says, "You're a bad dude, man." Anyway, the lady who got punched actually came on the Dan and Dude show, and she said she didn't know the guy who hit her. She said she was minding her own business. Of course, anyone who gets punched in the face says they're minding their own business, of course. And said some girl started getting mad at her for being in her way, and then grabbed her by her hair and took her to the ground and started dragging her. She put her hands up, and some guy that was with her wailed her in the eye. I got to tell you, I think that's fishy. I'm not saying she should have gotten smoked in the eye, but I am saying that, people don't usually just attack you for no. I mean, I'm not saying it never happens. It does, but, people just paid a couple $100 to get in a concert. Something tells me that this lady did something and acted like a real a-hole, and probably turned around and gave him the finger or something like that. Not saying this was right, but the lady's fiance was there, and apparently he went after the guy. And girls fight, guys fight. Come on, it's a Randy Owen concert. It's a frickin' Randy Owen concert. What the hell? I mean, Randy Owen's pretty lackluster as an entertainer as it is. I mean, that's like going and getting in a fight at the Kenny Loggins concert. I mean, really, guys, are you freaking kidding me? Anyway, let's kick our heels on over to theboot.com at this time. Fans who have tickets to see Willie Nelson and Alison Krauss together in concert this next month, they're not going to be too happy. They've had to announce Alison Krauss has had to cancel and also reschedule shows because of health problems. And here's the official word that came down, quote unquote, from her person. Yeah, her person. Doesn't everybody want to have a person? Due to an unforeseen and urgent health concern that requires immediate attention, we have been forced to reschedule and unfortunately cancel a few select shows on the upcoming tour with Willie Nelson. This is from a post on her website. Back to the quoting. A list of the affected shows along with makeup dates and ticket refund exchange policies are listed below, and we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience. Now, the announcement doesn't actually state exactly what's wrong with Alison Krauss. But, she has previously canceled shows due to a vocal condition called dysphonia. Dysphonia? I mean, like dysphonia illness? Because I want to sit around and smoke weed in my trailer? I don't know. Anyway, dysphonia, I guess it really is an illness. It can result in a hoarse or rough voice, dryness of the throat, and the inability to sing in the upper range. No idea if that is the cause for these cancellations, but I got to tell you, I love listening to Alison Krauss sing. I mean, she sings a lot of stupid love songs like everyone else, but she also does a lot of cool stuff. She's like the Americana Stevie Nicks, without the cocaine being blown up her hoo-ha. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen till the 1-2 song punch, was it? I thought it was appropriate there, though. All right, over at Nashville Gab, Bryan McKnight, the R&B singer, answers the question about why there aren't more black people in country music. Now, he starts by stating that many black musicians simply don't grow up in areas where they can appreciate country music for the quote-unquote wonderful music it is. I must say that was a pretty nice thing to say, Mr. McKnight. But then McKnight goes on to say, and he does say this in a nice way, but he says that on the other side of the equation, meaning the country music fans and industry, I presume, that there's an element that wants to keep it pure and that are ignorant and don't understand that black people invented country music. Okay, now I did just paraphrase what he said. To hear his exact words, go over to Nashville Gab, and you can click a play thing and listen to the actual audio of him saying that, okay? And you'll see he said it probably a little nicer than that, but I mean, that is what he said. But I gotta say, WTF? I mean, where do I even start with this one? I will, of course, not argue the point that there aren't many black folks in country music. But to state that it's because white industry and audiences shun them, I don't know, what rock you've been under, but, you may have had a point. Bryan McKnight may have had a point that back in the 70s and earlier, because after all, that it would have been tough for a black country artist to get going. And, kudos to Charlie Pride for breaking through that wall and getting there, because that could not have been easy. Because, I mean, let's face it, what black person would have been suicidal enough as a young starting out artist to willingly walk into a raging honky-tonk back in the 70s, I mean, just picture it, with all their equipment, so they're not making a quick getaway if things go bad, to perform for a group of people in which they would likely find the very highest concentration of people that don't like them because of the color of their skin. Okay, now I get that. Totally get that. Not lost on me, okay? But times have changed a lot. I mean, they're still racist. There are black racists. There's white racists. There's Hindu racists. I mean, there's racists in every group of people, okay? So it's out there and it's everywhere. It's just a little more even spread these days. Now, country music in 2014, though, I gotta say, it's anything but pure. And anything in it, it's ripe for the taking. It's ripe for the picking by anyone who wants to come along. I mean, a lot of these songs coming out have rap in it. I mean, was Cruise with Florida Georgia Line and Nelly. As soon as Nelly actually came onto that track, that thing blew up 15 times more than it already was. You've got R&B, rock and roll, and I ask you, was Darius Rucker shunned by fans in the industry? Looks to me like everything he touches shoots to the top of the dang charts in country. That landscape that Bryan McKnight is referring to, it has changed to the point, And to point to current racism as to why there aren't more black people in country music, in my opinion, is ignorance. Music Row, it's very obvious from the way they've raped country music, only sees one color. They don't see black, they don't see white, they don't see red, green. Well, they see green. That's the only color they see is green, baby. And there's no, I mean, we've got proof in the pudding right there on mainstream country radio. Go no further. You know, I would say, I will say that the lingering, I gotta tell you, it's ripe for black people to march right in and just completely take over country music, you know? And I would say that the lingering effect of widespread racism in the past, though, I will give that. That's probably got a whole lot to do with why black people are themselves reluctant to get into country music, because black people had been very shut out back in the day, and a lot of that perception, you know, has got to still remain, and it's still got to sting. And so I'm going to agree with McKnight a little bit on that viewpoint. Okay, now about black people inventing country music, that one is way ignorant. Country music was born largely from Irish folk music. I mean, listen to the banjos behind me. Okay, there you go. Ain't nothing black about that, okay? Now, through the ages, the black influence, beginning in the 50s with rock and roll, which black people absolutely did invent and white people stole, along with blues and soul, disco, and into today with rap and R&B. Now, all those formats, they have contributed greatly to the sound you hear country music having today. But no, black people did not invent country music. They invented a lot of other music, but country wasn't one of them. All right? Now, would I like to see more black people in country music personally? You bet I would. Absolutely. Guys, come on in. Someone's got to save this sinking ship from the banal crap pile it's become. We need some flavor in here. You know, we need some soul back in it. Country music today, it's got no freaking soul. It's just this hollow freaking milquetoast pile of crap, you know? And the racial walls, they are down. There's no further proof than like Darius Rucker. I mean, you got Cowboy Troy, which hasn't been all that successful. Maybe not for a rapping country artist. You know, you'll get a little novelty buzz, but for black people who want to come in and sing country and bring the black influence into country, these barn doors are swung wide open for you. And I will tell you, you know, if it improves this junk we're hearing right now, I say come on in, guys. Guys and ladies, come on in here. We want you. We need you. Country music needs you bad. Black America, it's up to you to save country music. Over at Country Standard Time, as long as I'm dipping my toe into shall we say, controversial waters here, Kacey Musgraves will become the first country artist to perform at the 25th annual GLAAD Media Awards in New York on May 3rd. Now, for those of you who don't know, GLAAD stands for Gay and Lesbian something, something, something. And they exist to promote something or other about being gay and lesbian. There you go. Spoken like a true straight white guy. Anyway, Kacey Musgraves is going to become the first country artist to perform, and that's because she had a little line in her song "Follow Your Arrow" that said, you know, kiss lots of boys, or kiss lots of girls if that's what you're into. You know, so there you go. And I guess they're looking for any toehold they can into country music, and they saw it in Kacey Musgraves, invited her, and she graciously accepted. So there you go. I guess the real question now is Kacey Musgraves a lesbian? Dun dun dun. Anyway, well, let's put it this way. I think Larry the Cable Guy said it best when he said that everybody is at least a little gay. And he proved it. Okay? And how did Larry the Cable Guy prove it? Well, you should actually, maybe YouTube it and you can hear it straight from his mouth. I'll get to paraphrase it. He asked if guys who watch porn generally like to watch girls with girls or a guy with a girl. And overwhelmingly, guys seem to prefer to watch a guy and a girl. Right? And then he went on to ask if he liked the guys to be flaccid or standing at attention. Trying to keep the show clean here. Don't know how well I'm succeeding. But anyway, guys overwhelmingly would prefer to see a big standing at attention piece of equipment. Gotcha. Over at the 615, Willie Nelson has been inducted into the Austin City Limits Hall of Fame, as he was the first performer ever on Austin City Limits. I believe. I could be wrong about that. I knew the answer like a week ago, but I did a lot of Willie Nelsoning back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. We won't talk about that. But anyway, he was certainly one of the first performers on Austin City Limits. Also inducted were Stevie Ray Vaughan in Double Trouble, longtime show producer Bill Arhos, and former University of Texas football coach Darrell Royal, whose pickin' parties with guitar songwriters at his Austin home after games helped inspire the show. Now, Bill Arhos spoke at the ceremony, and he recalled a friend's comment after one of the times when Nelson was busted for possession. And apparently his friend said, Willie Nelson getting busted for weed is like Wimpy getting busted for eating hamburgers. I'll gladly pay you Tuesday, but this has been your Undercountry Music News. Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly hour-long internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I, Neil Smith, not only round up the week in country music news and put my own spin on it, but I also play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts, the kind that you won't hear on mainstream country radio. If you're thirsting for that, get on over to undercountrymusic.com, where you can listen and subscribe. You can also subscribe via iTunes to Undercountry Music. Thanks so much. Stay under, stay country.